Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Anuj. कैसे हो? How are you?
बढ़िया sir.
So, all good? All set?
Yes sir. Yes sir.
Ready? Okay. Okay, perfect. Welcome to the mock interview from Petroleum from Scratch. And we'll start. Directly, we'll start. Okay. We'll have a conversation and all after the interview, right? So let's start with a formal introduction about yourself, and then we will start our proceedings. Yeah, please go ahead.
Uh, as you said, my name is Anuj Bhatia, and I am currently pursuing BTech in Applied Petroleum Engineering with an overall CGPA of 9.03. And in spite of the petroleum engineering, I am also interested in the latest trends in industries, that is the digitalization that is taking place in the oil field. Uh, also, I have done a project in developing an oil and gas reservoir where I have used depletion drive recovery formula for just above the bubble point. I have used the depletion drive index to calculate the maximum recovery. And after that, just below the bubble point, uh, I have planned for the water flooding project so that we could obtain the maximum possible recovery of that field. Also, I have done an internship in Reliance Industries Limited for uh, for the problem they were facing in the field, that is the PCP pump failures due to various factors. Uh, and I have suggested a suitable, technically feasible solution for them. So that's it.
Okay, so you said you developed the reservoir. I could not understand, like in your projects. Can you elaborate on your projects, please?
Sir, basically, I have prepared a field development plan for the reservoir, oil
Okay.
reservoir. For that, just above the bubble point, uh, we have planned for the field is operating under depletion drive. So we have calculate the recovery, and after that, we have planned for the water flooding project such as the fractional flow analysis and also the breakthrough time that the field would experience, and that's it.
So you did that for an existing field, or like?
No, sir, we have assumed the data of ourselves, and then we have
Okay.
basically started with the well testing analysis. So from the build-up data, we have calculated the initial pressure of that reservoir, and from starting from that, calculating the permeability of that reservoir, we have prepared a development plan for that field, whatever that is possible, and also the water flooding project that would be
Okay.
And from where the PVT data you have taken?
from the well test data only, the fluid properties that were present in the, basically we have taken it from the book only, the textbook.
Okay.
So in that the fluid properties data were given.
So,
Anuj, yeah,
yeah, Divyansh, go ahead.
yeah. You said that you have developed a reservoir model and you're planning to introduce water flooding, right? Why are you introducing water flooding at the very initial stage of the reservoir? Means why reservoir is not able to produce initially by its own pressure?
So generally we see that above the bubble point, the compressibility of the oil is such that the pressure is depleted very fast, but the recovery is not that much, and it is hardly 2 to 3% of the recovery that we are getting just above the bubble point. And it is also seen in the literature that just below the bubble point pressure, if we plan for the water flooding project, that would be the best for the field, because we could utilize the effect of residual, that the gas that is liberated, so that we could minimize the residual oil saturation.
So at what pressure you started water flooding?
Sir,
How much pressure less than bubble point?
sir, 100 to 200 psi, just below
Okay.
that.
Does the gas started flowing at that pressure?
No, sir, not the gas. It won't cross the critical gas saturation, but just below the bubble point, it is that much that it can reduce the residual oil saturation.
Okay, good.
So you suggested that you calculated the average reservoir pressure using a build-up test, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you give a brief workflow on how you did that?
Sir, that is possible because of the Horner plotting technique. If we extrapolate the logarithmic plot against the PWF versus the time against the logarithmic of time, so at infinite time we assume that it will assume an average pressure. So that we have taken.
So what was on the x-axis in this Horner's plot? What's on the x-axis?
It is actually the logarithmic of Horner's time ratio, that is the Tp plus delta T upon delta T.
Okay. And the extrapolation of that for infinite time.
Yes, sir.
Infinite TP, right? Infinite TP or infinite delta
No,
T?
sir. Delta T, sir.
That gives you what?
Sir, that will give you the initial pressure of that reservoir.
Okay. So that you
Actually,
used for,
it is
yeah,
a pseudo average pressure
yeah.
of that reservoir, but we assumed it as an initial pressure for
For your
reducing the
project.
complexity. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you are aware that that's like P star, we call it.
Yes, sir.
And let's not be average. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Anuj. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yeah, Divyansh, go ahead. Okay, I think Divyansh got stuck somewhere. Okay, so Divyansh, you're there, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please go ahead.
I was asking that you are okay, you have planned a water flooding job, but how can you assure that whatever results you are predicting, will it be matching the real life results of the reservoir? How are you how are you making that sure that my results which I have analyzed is true?
Sir, that would be possible by history matching, but we didn't have the field production data, so we haven't done the validation part of that project.
Okay, so no validation is done. Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so you have talked about history matching. Do you know what is history matching?
Yes, sir. Actually, it is based on the past production data. If we
Hmm.
match if our model matches with the past production data, that then we say that the model is validated for future prediction of the field.
And if
All right,
not,
so yeah, go ahead. You
yeah,
were speaking
like
something.
I just asked him, like you said, model, if your model does not match with the historical data, then what?
So then, if suitable error is permissible,
Hmm.
like 1% is permissible for the pressure data, but if more than that, then we have to recheck for the PVT data and also the geological model, that the static model that we have prepared already.
Okay, good.
So, Anuj, you have taken a case in which you have implemented water flooding after
Yes, sir.
reducing the pressure from the bubble point. You have not exactly started at the bubble point.
Yes, sir.
So, have you taken any case in which you have started water flooding exactly at the bubble point?
No, sir.
And so you have taken into account that trapped gas phenomena, right? So
Yes,
are
sir.
you aware about that mechanism?
Yes, sir. There are actually two mechanism of it. So in the first theory, it is that the bubble that reside on the larger pore throats, so that would be occupying the space of that residual oil saturation. So it would enhance the recovery. And also in the second case, there is an assumption that oil film is developed around that trapped gas, and the portion of that trapped gas would be the recovery that we are getting, the extra recovery that we are getting. It is in the place of that residual oil saturation.
Okay.
Anuj, can you please
So-
explain?
So how does X? Yeah, yeah.
I was asking about
Yeah,
wettability.
Divyansh, go.
Am I audible now?
Yeah,
Yes,
same.
sir.
Yeah.
Can you please explain me the concept of wettability?
Divyansh, okay. I guess Divyansh has a network issue. Divyansh, can you please repeat the question? You
Yeah.
got stuck, I guess.
Now is it okay? Hello.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, I was asking. Can you please explain me the concept
Yeah.
of wettability?
So, wettability is the tendency of a fluid to spread against the surface, or it is the measure of the adherence of a solid and a liquid particles.
So, is it a fluid property or a rock property?
It is a rock property.
But it also depends on the fluid, right? Kind of
Uh,
fluid we are adhering to.
yes, sir. It is a rock property because it depends. It depends on the fluid. That if the more wetting fluid is there, so obviously it would spread more against the surface.
Okay. So, let's say we have a water wet reservoir. Uh, as you are doing water flooding, uh, let's say we are introducing a new concept of gas flooding as well. Okay. So, can you guess that in which case will have better recoveries and why?
So that would be in the water flooding only, because in the water is generally that displaces in the smaller pore size also, because it is more wetting than that of oil, while the gas would be displacing only the oil in the larger pore size, because uh, it is a non-wetting fluid than that of the oil, compared to that of oil.
Okay, great, great.
Anuj, can you give me an example of the most non-wetting liquid that you can imagine?
Mercury.
Nice. Okay. And if I give you a case where I do a laboratory example of, let's say, um, capillary pressure calculations, can you tell me how will you convert these things, the measurements that are doing in a laboratory, to reservoir conditions? What data you will take, what procedure you will follow?
So for the same rock sample, we would be using the leverage J function, according to which uh, the it depends on the surface tension between the solid and the liquid. So the ratio of it would be used to convert it into the laboratory scale, into the field scale.
Okay, so what does leverage J function basically do? Like, where is it valid and what's its utility?
It
Why would you use
actually
that? Yeah.
it actually normalize the data according, like for the same for the same rock samples, the leverage J function would be a constant. So irrespective of the properties of capillary pressure and different capillary pressures, we would be having a same value, so that we could normalize that value according to it.
Nice.
Okay,
So
will that
can you just, Yeah, just the final question. Can you just conclude with the proportionalities, not the formula, but what is the what does it look like, the leverage J function? You can
Sir,
skip the constant if you don't remember. If you remember the formula, perfect. But what is it proportional to? What is it inversely proportional to? Things like that.
sir, it is actually PC capillary pressure upon the surface tension into under root of K by phi. Uh, that is actually derived from the radius of pore
Yeah,
and under root of it.
right. Yeah, Jesh.
Yeah, okay, you just said that J function will be a function of rock. If we are using same rock, then J function will be same. So will this J function also be dependent on some other thing or not?
Yes, sir, it is a function of saturation of water. That is the wetting fluid saturation.
Right.
All right, so let's take a case of water flooding. You have three different types of reservoir. One is active water drive, second one is solution gas drive, and third one we have gas cap drive. So in which one of these cases you would get the best result?
Sir, it would be in the active water drive.
Active
There
water
there would
drive.
be maximum recovery. But if there is gravity drainage in the solution gas drive also, so theoretically it can be the maximum recovery.
Yes,
No,
But
I'm just talking
practically,
about water flooding and effectivity of the water flooding.
yes, sir. If the vertical permeability is good, then the active for the bottom water drive, it would be the best.
I actually mentioned active water drive. The second
Yes,
case is solution gas drive, and third one is gas cap drive.
yes,
So
sir.
in yeah, go
So
ahead.
it would be the active water drive.
But don't you think there is no use of water flooding in case of active water drive because the reservoir is already having its energy and it is and the production of oil is already supplemented by the aquifer. So what's the point of implementing a new water flooding process?
Sir, there then water flooding won't be there. Then there would be a water injection, so that we could support the aquifer also, because we can't assume that the aquifer is infinite in size.
No, the aquifer is active. The aquifer
Yes,
is
sir.
further divided as
Then there
partially weak and active. So aquifer is already active. It is already
then there
pushing your oil.
then I don't think there would be a need of water flooding.
Right. So if we compare with solution gas drive and gas cap drive, which one of these would yield better result?
Then gas cap drive would yield better result.
Actually, solution gas drive will yield better result because in case of gas cap is usually a large area. It comprises of a large volume. So you have to fill that gas cap completely in order to start the pushing process. So gas cap drive, implementing water flooding in gas cap drive can be effective given that you fill whole complete gas cap with water. And the gas cap is usually huge. It is around millions and millions of barrels. So theoretically, solution gas drive is more effective, not just theoretically, but practically also. And if we talk about gas injection, what do you think? I mean, in which of the reservoir drives it would yield better results?
So it would be definitely the gas cap drive, because we would be injecting in the gas zone only.
Okay, correct. And what will be the effect of vertical permeability?
Sir, the more if vertical permeability is high, then there would be an early breakthrough of gas. So,
Right.
but the communication is good, so the recovery would be more.
All right. So if I specify only the case of solution gas drive, so would it be better that if your vertical permeability is low or vertical permeability is high, that would be a better case?
So, if the vertical permeability is low, then it would be a better case.
All right.
Why so?
Because the gas would start getting into the forming into a secondary gas cap if the vertical permeability is good.
Hmm.
So that can also give an extra energy to the oil, and we won't be getting a gas production.
Okay. So you have talked about gravity drainage. Can you explain me what a gravity drainage is?
In gravity drainage, we would be utilizing the force of gravity as a source of energy for the recovery. So in we would be placing in the wells in the down dip, so that the solution gas could migrate upwards, and the oil would be pushed downwards against it. So
And
that would give the
if aquifer is also present,
then there would be a combination drive. So we would have to optimize the distance of perforation, so that we won't be having a water coning problem. If
and
we
which drive will yeah, continue.
if we place very in the down dip only, if we place the wells, so we could have an early breakthrough of water due to water coning.
Okay. And which of these two drive will have a good recovery?
Sir, the combination drive only.
Combination drive. Or now consider you have a combination drive. Now consider you have a gravity drainage drive with good vertical permeability, and also the initial volume of gas cap is also high. Then which drive will give good recovery?
Then I think gas cap would give good recovery, because it would form a secondary gas cap, and it also would add the energy to it. So we would be having a benefit of both of them.
Anuj,
All
in
right. So you
case,
have mentioned some of the projects. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, in case of down dip reservoirs, is there any possibility that we can achieve the fractional flow FW, that is the fractional part of water, greater than 1?
Uh, Greater than one, yes, sir, because there is a gravity part also in
Mhm.
it. So it can add to it, and we can have a fractional flow curve greater than one.
So let's say we are having a FW.
Fractional flow.
Yeah. So let's say we are encountering a situation where our value of FW is greater than 1. What can be done to lower this FW below 1? What can we do?
Sir, for that we have to increase the viscosity of the injecting fluid, so that the we would be having a lower mobility ratio.
Okay,
And
let's talk on
apart
the,
from it, uh,
can we do anything? Can we change our flow rate, injection flow rate? Can we increase the flow rate or decrease the flow rate so that
yes,
our
sir.
FW value comes to be lower than 1?
So we should increase the flow rate. Uh, yes, sir. we should increase the flow rate of injecting fluid so that there won't be an early breakthrough.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, Divyansh, did you mention the dip in this case? You didn't.
Down
Right?
dip. I mentioned down dip.
Down dip. You mentioned down dip.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Anshul.
Sir, I think down dip already is giving an additional factor to it. So I think it should be an up dip scenario that you were discussing. Because we should play for the water flooding project, we should place the well in injector wells, especially in the down dip positions, so that the gravity would play the part.
No, I'm actually, I was talking about down dip only. I'm sure about it. In the case of down dip only, I'm just asking you this question. Yeah, Anshul.
Yes, you have mentioned one of the internships while you were giving your introduction. So can you please elucidate about that?
Uh, for I have done two internship. So can you mention which one?
Tell me your favorite one.
Okay, so that was I have done an internship in Reliance Industries Limited that was situated in Shedol area. So it was basically a coal bed methane field, and I was assigned an artificial lift in the artificial lift department. So there the PCP pumps were operating, but due to the vibrations and other factors, there are a lot of integrity failures in tubing as well as in the rod string. So my project was to minimize those kind of early failures so that we would be minimizing the work over cost, and finally the the operating expenditure of that field, that is the opex of the field.
So can you tell me some of the reasons behind failure of that PCP pump?
So the rod string, that sucker rod string, gets snapped with the tubing. So most of the failures were due to the less clearance that was available between the rod string and the tubing. And also there were issues like if we operate the pump in very high RPM, so due to the eccentric motion of the rod, there are a lot of vibrations, and that cause the unscrewing of the rod, the sucker rod. And so
So artificial lift is a part of primary, secondary, or tertiary recovery.
sir, actually it is a wellbore phenomena. It
Right.
is
So
not a reservoir.
it is not associated with any of those process.
Sir, it can be associated with any of them at any stage of the field.
Okay,
It,
correct. So why did they use PCP pump? Why not others, ESP?
so because CBMs in CBM field, we are generally hydraulically fracturing the field, so that so there was excessive sand problems, and PCP pumps have very high solid tolerance like compared to other artificial lift. Also, the water won't be getting any corrosion problem in in any tubulars, because there are elastomers present in the PCP pump, and it is a positive displacement pump, so there would be a high drawdown and non-pulsating flow also.
Right. So elastomers are present in the rotor part or in the stator part?
So in the stator part.
Stator. Okay. And can there be any problem associated with elastomers?
Yes, sir. If somehow the gas enters into the elastomer, so there would be a gas blowdown that is the elastomer get burst, and also due to the high friction forces, the elastomer can get due to excessive heat also elastomer get swollen. And other than that, there are lot of cases that most of the cases are like this only, that the elastomer get swollen or it get ruptured
Loss
or
in
it,
durability, right?
yes sir.
All right. So yeah, one more thing. Is the pitch of rotor and pitch of stator the same, or is it different?
So the stator pitch is twice that of the rotor pitch. It is
Uh,
not same.
it is not exactly twice, but it depends on the number of loops,
Yes sir.
and there's a specific ratio. So also there's one more thing. Is the center part, central axis of rotor is same as that of stator?
No sir, there is a suitable eccentricity between them. That is the distance is equal to four times the eccentricity.
Anuj, how the CBM reservoir is different from a conventional reservoir?
Sir, in conventional reservoir, the a large production of water is seen generally in the later stage of the field.
Hmm.
That is after producing maximum amount of oil. And in CBM, it is generally observed that the water production is in the starting only. We would be getting a huge amount of water for dewatering the uh, coal coal bed. So that is the major. Also, the coal properties are significantly different that of the petrophysical property of sandstone or a limestone reservoir.
So let's say we have two reservoirs. In first one is the conventional reservoir, conventional gas reservoir, and the second one is a CBM reservoir in which gas is present there. So is there any difference in the mechanism of gas coming out of both of the reservoirs?
Yes, sir. For the conventional reservoir, the gas is compressed between the pore spaces,
Hmm.
and in the CBM reservoir, it is adsorbed at the surface area of the mineral surface area. So basically, the gas is present in the solution of water, and it is adsorbed at the mineral surface, and also it is absorbed. That the combined effect is called as sorption. So these are the differences.
Okay, great. Anuj, you've also mentioned about internship done in the surface facilities team. What
Yes, sir.
have you seen there? Did you visit any GGS?
Yes, sir. We have seen the GGS at Kalol field.
Okay, so what did you see at the GGS?
In GGS, there were we have seen the horizontal separators there, and also the water injection facility that was present, and the well numbers were specified in it.
Okay, so how much wells means production from how much how many amount of wells was coming there into that GGS?
So I didn't remember the exact number of
Okay,
wells.
okay. What was the APA gravity of oil which was coming into these GGS?
So I didn't remember.
Okay, so there must be heater present there.
Yes, sir.
So can you please explain me in simple language how the heater works?
So heater treater is responsible for breaking up the emulsion that is formed between the oil and water.
Hmm.
And basically it uses the gas, heating up of gas and combustion, and giving the heat directly to the oil so that the emulsion could be break, and we would be getting a free water and oil separately.
No, I'm okay. That's you have mentioned the function of a heater treater. I'm asking about working of heater treater. Like what are the components present inside it? What are the different parts present in the heater treater? Means as in case of
So there is a YouTube that is
yeah, go ahead.
Uh, so there is a heating section that consists of the U-tube where the gas is actually flowing. There is a coalescing section,
Hmm.
and there is a surge section where the due to the uh, retention time, the oil and water get separated
So the first section is which one? Please
after
tell me in the
giving
order of
suitable
preference.
retention.
Like first section is the heating section,
In
right?
the first section is the heating section,
Hmm. And the
and
second
after
section,
that, it direct second, it is directly coalescing section where the oil droplets get coalesced and separated upwards, like separated with the free water.
now
And
about
after that, due to the
second
yes sir.
section is the surge section, and in the last section, that is the third section, is the coalescing section. This is the right order. Okay. Okay. In the case of separation, in case of three-phase separators or a heater treater, we often use the term water washing. Do you know what water washing is?
Uh, to reduce the separation between the oil droplets, we have a technique that if we just add the required amount of water, so the water droplets can get coalesced easily. So for that reason, we have a water wash where an inclined plate is there, and just at the discharge part of the heater treater, we have this water wash section.
No, we have this at the initial part. Means when the crude is coming into any separator or a heater treater, there we are actually using water washing. Okay, so let's not go into that detail. Um, when is there any limit? Do you know about BSNW limit? When we send it to the refineries, what should be the limit of BSNW?
Yes, sir. BSNW is basic sediment and water that is present.
Hmm.
So uh, I think it is 10% uh, that we take
No,
for the
10% is too high.
for water cut. We generally take 1% of water, and solid for the solid component we take it in ppm. I didn't remember the exact numbers.
Okay, okay, no issues. Yes, Jayesh, any questions?
All right. So, do you have any idea about the mechanism of emulsion formation being specific to oil well?
It is due to the agitation of oil and water, and the oil droplets get heterogeneously mixed with the water, and there is a film against at uh, uh, in the water external emulsions. We have this oil droplets that are dispersed, and there is a film of emulsifier against it that prevents the oil colliding and coalescing, so that so these are responsible for the formation of emulsion.
Okay. So, what is the role of surfactant? Is it increasing the formation of emulsion, or is it increasing the demulsification process?
Surfactant would lower down the interfacial tension between the two liquids, and it would be acting as a demulsifier if it is in the right quantity.
And what if you increase the quantity?
Then it itself would act as an emulsifier only, and it forms a coating against it.
Right. So in the initial part, you have mentioned about the digitization of oil and gas. You are somewhat interested in that. So
Yes,
can
sir.
you please elaborate on that?
Sir, I have gone through the theoretical part of it, but I'm preparing to implement them. I have gone through learning and digital twin concepts, and also the cloud computing that is going on in the industry for software applications.
Do you have any idea about how to, any idea to apply the machine learning in some oil and gas problem?
Yes, sir. We can predict for the, like in the pump only, in the artificial lift only, we can predict the number of failures that would be going on in the future by using the different regression models and that we use in machine learning.
And
Apart from it, we could also predict the performance of the field by
Are you
using
comfortable
the.
answering questions on machine learning?
Sir, I can try, but I think definitely, sir, I can try.
okay, carry on. Applications.
Okay. So, like, yeah, please tell me your regions of comfort in machine learning domain. Like, what all?
Sir, I have read about the.
I think there's a lag in my. Jayesh, you carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, Anuj. Tell me some application that you think we can use machine learning in oil and gas industry.
Sir, we can predict the performance of field by using the past data that would act as a training model for
Hmm.
the machine learning purpose. And apart from it, artificial lift would be the one scenario, and other one, uh,
Just
I
think open
think,
mind.
for the water flooding project also, we could use the machine learning to get the early breakthrough, that the time of breakthrough that we would be getting according to the past experience, and also the explore in the exploration phase where we are drilling the wildcat, we can use it as a part of the enology that uh, based on the volumetrics that we predict how much volume of oil it is present. So based on the nearby fields, we can use the analogy, and by using the machine learning, we can predict the volume.
Okay, have you read any algorithms of machine learning? Have basic idea about some algorithms?
Yes, sir. I have read about linear regression, where
Okay.
we try to fit a straight line against the data that we are the scattered data that we are getting, and based on the least square method, we try to fit the suitable straight line that we can according to y equal to mx plus c
Yeah,
equation.
yeah, the answer, sir.
Yeah. Am I audible without any lag?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So you are comfortable answering questions on regression, right?
Sir, no, sir. I have just read in 2 3 days only.
Okay. 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 Okay, so you are have you worked on any tool with respect to analytics or something, data?
Yes, sir.
Because yeah.
In our major project, we are planning to use Python programming for uh, for various applications in the reservoir engineering. Basically, we
Okay.
are using the classical engineering concepts in it.
So you will be working, but you haven't worked yet, right? On Python.
So we have started it.
Okay.
We
So you're comfortable with reservoir engineering, right? And well test analysis and all,
Yes, sir.
right? So let's have a quick session on well test. So let's start with the first. Like, if I ask you what is well test analysis, and what are the different kind of well tests, give me a quick short introduction before I ask you further questions on that.
So for getting the data for the reservoir, we use the pressure pulse that we measure the pressure against the distance from the wellbore, and it is basically the well testing analysis that uh, we record the pressure against the time.
Okay, let me reframe this question. How do you define pressure transient analysis? Like, why is it called pressure transient analysis?
Because if we in any disturbance in the flow rate of the well, there would be a wave, a pressure pulse that is created against the wellbore, and we could measure the traveling that pressure pulse, and we could use it for the well testing applications for detecting the faults and
So
boundaries for the
you
reservoir.
said, let's connect the dots. You said we just after a disturbance in the flow rate, there is a pressure disturbance created. Brilliant answer. But how do we connect these disturbances to our analysis? How can we use a disturbance to generate an analysis?
So
If you
just
can
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if we throw a stone in the ocean also,
Mhm.
and let's say there are some objects there, so
Mhm.
if the pressure pulse hits the any object, so it would get reverted, and we could use this kind of phenomena, being pressure being a mechanical wave, so we could use it uh, for detecting the unseen objects around the reservoir that we can't be seeing directly.
So, what is the main aim you are pointing at using well test analysis? Why do we do that? What are you trying to achieve?
So basically, it is used for permeability determination and initial pressure, and also the faults, and for detecting the faults and the boundaries of the reservoir.
Is that all, or is something missing in them?
So we can use it for the skin
Mhm.
factor, and apart from it, for inter for getting the communication between two wells, we could use the interference well testing.
Okay,
And
so if I give you a case where I'm planning to complete a well without a packer, in well testing perspective, would you recommend that practice or would you not? Going without a packer, how will it affect your well test analysis? What things you must keep in mind if you know that I don't have a packer now in the well? What do you think? What will change
so
in
I
your
think
basic? Yeah.
the pressure won't be getting built up easily by isolating the annulus. We could build up the pressure and transfer it into tubing.
No, that is not a problem. Yeah, I mean, that's not what the main issue. Let's say if that's okay, that's permeable enough, and shut in will anyway create a pressure buildup. So, do you think I can carry out the normal well test practices from the get go, from the right beginning, and calculate permeability using various analysis? Have you heard of Velbo storage?
Yes, sir.
So can you answer that this question now? Would you recommend a
Uh,
well with a packer or a well without packer? And if you recommend a well with a packer, why would you do that?
Sir, without if we use the well without the packer, then wellbore storage would be the effect of wellbore storage would be more, because wellbore storage is basically comprising of change in fluid level and also the compressibility
Then what
of
do you
that.
do? What is the consequence of that? What changes you make in your test practice?
So we have to identify the early part of
Right.
the pressure
How do you identify
analysis.
that?
So by using the log plot and different type curves.
So what is the identification or the diagnosis for a well-bore storage domain in a log plot? How do you identify it?
So it is basically a unit slope. Uh, Basically, it
Okay.
is the slope is 45 at the 45 degree.
Okay,
So
let's assume I have a brain damage and I cannot do a log plot. My brain does not understand log plots now. But I still want to do the identification of the well-bore storage. Is there any other way that you would suggest me?
so we could use semi-log plot also, but that the early the straight line region would determine the transient flow, the start of the transient flow, and deviating
Can
from it. Yes, sir.
can you tell from the semi-log plot? Can you tell the well-bore storage coefficient? Can you do that?
No, sir.
No, right? Then what else do you? Because my aim is to calculate analytically. If I want to calculate the time domain for well-bore storage, I need to calculate the well-bore storage coefficient. Then I just said I cannot understand log plots because that's too difficult for me. What else can I do? What is the simplest
So
plot?
I think I uh, we could use the formula for it, uh, for the afterflow and also the Wilbur storage. We have a uh, like empirical formula for it.
No, I don't prefer formulas, but yeah, I mean, the answer would be I would do a Cartesian plot of pressure versus time, and in the initial domain, that would give me the slope of it, would give me the Velbo storage eventually. But okay, you have answered well in the Velbo storage, but now that's not important for me. What I want to identify is the permeability of the reservoir, right? Now, now you will be speaking about it and you will tell me how do I eventually reach the zone where I'm 100% confident that the permeability from this time domain is my actual formation permeability. It's a radial reservoir. How do you do that?
Sir, can we use the log plot for it?
Yeah, now you can. I'm back. Yeah.
Sir, then if the slope of that curve becomes zero, that is that is parallel to the horizontal axis, so that would indicate uh, the slope of the pressure derivative curve. That would indicate the start of the radial flow or
I have a
inclining axis.
slight brain damage again. Now I cannot use a semi-log plot. It's a different kind of disease. Now I can only use the log plot. Now tell me, how can I calculate permeability from that?
So we are using log plot only.
Yeah. No other plot is allowed in my brain. What do you do?
So then we can use the semi-log plot also.
But you are kidding me. I am problematic to semi-log plots. I'm allergic to them. I can only use log plots. No semi-log plots, no Cartesian. My brain only understands log plots, and I want to calculate permeability anyhow. Otherwise, my job's gone. So what can I do? Can I do it first up? Can I get permeability from a log plot?
Yes, sir. For the log plot, for the pressure derivative, that is, there are two plots.
Right.
One is the pressure differential and another one is the pressure derivative. By
Right.
the combined use of both of them, that is, the slope of the pressure derivative curve becomes zero. So
Right.
that would give us the indication of the start of infinite acting radial flow.
But that's identification of where the radial flow is there. Infinite acting radial flow is there. Perfect. That's a good answer. But my aim is to calculate permeability. Once I identify that's the radial flow, now I cannot use my semi-log plot because of this silly disease. Now what I do? How do I calculate permeability from this very plot?
So by using the build-up curve, but that is also a semi-log
Only
plot.
drawdown test I have conducted, and you are going correctly, but you have reached the point where you have identified the radial flow. Now the next part is using this plot only. I want to calculate permeability. Can I do that or can I not?
Sir, I'm right now I'm not getting it.
Okay. So yeah, the height of this radial flow domain, the plateau that you are talking about, it is equal to what? It is 70.6 q mu b by kh, right? So this very thing that you would now, okay, now I have told you the answer for this. Now, can you do the same thing using semi-log plot? Calculation of
Yes.
permeability? Okay, how
Yes,
would
sir.
you go
For
ahead?
the slope, we could use the slope of the straight line for the semi-log plot, and by using the formula for q mu b upon mh, so that would
Yeah.
so
And which
that would give.
straight line? How do you identify the straight line?
So by partitioning it into early time region, middle time region,
And that
and
comes from where?
from the tangent that we draw in the
No, no,
semi-log
no.
plot.
But that's my decision making part where I need to, like, my boss will ask me, how can you be sure that this is the correct straight line? What do you say to your boss? What evidence do you have that this is my correct straight line?
So again, we have to go for rechecking it. We have to go for log plot only.
Right. Yeah, perfect. So you need all the plots basically. People like me with certain brain damages won't work. So make sure you go for yeah, right. Okay. So, but yeah, I'll just pinch in with some other, like, let's just have a skin effect is feeling like it's left alone. So let's talk about skin effect finally before we conclude well testing session. How do we go about calculating skin factor from these plots? Let's start with log only. What would you,
This
yeah,
for log plot, the separation between the pressure differential curve and the pressure derivative curve
right.
against the infinite acting part, that would give the skin that identification, like that would
Mhm.
give a glimpse of the skin factor.
Right. Good. Guys, go ahead. Yeah,
All right.
Digash,
So,
Digash, yeah.
Anuj, can you tell me what exactly your major project is? You mentioned that you are working
So
on different reservoir applications. So, can you tell me how Python is a suitable choice for those applications?
Sir, because Python is very easy to like mathematical operations are very easy in Python. So for using for plotting different plots for fractional flow analysis and for the petrophysical properties, and also for carrying out the material balance itself, So we could use Python to plot different graphs, and then after that we could calculate the recovery.
Don't you think Excel is quite more suitable for these purpose, because Excel does not require any sort of coding and cumbersome syntaxes as we see in case of Python?
Sir, I think in Excel, like in for carrying out the iteration kind of stuff, we Python is like very much suitable because we have to uh, we don't have to change the variable for it. We just have to operate a loop, so we could carry out the iterations.
So is
And
there any application of looping in reservoir engineering?
Yeah.
yes, sir, for that in the finite difference model that we use the iterations to calculate the pressure profile. So for that, it is very much helpful.
Okay. I'll just ask something. So, can you like, do you know Newton-Raphson's method?
Yes, sir.
So how do we go about Newton-Raphson's? Any application, if you know of that, like, will be great in oil and gas.
Applications, sir, I think I have studied it in mathematics. So for that, I remember the it is used for finding out the solution uh, of very difficult equations and getting the exact point of it,
Right,
where the curve is intersecting the x-axis.
right. Approximate solutions, right? Yeah. Okay, good.
Can you specify the applications which you will be working on?
Sir, we have planned for a like I have planned for a mixed kind of scenario and trying it different classical reservoir engineering approaches by the help of Python programming, and after that we would club all of them and form it into an application kind of project.
What exactly would your application would be? I'm not getting it.
For carrying out the material balance, and for the Darcy's law, also for petrophysical properties, we use different plotting techniques. And,
Okay, just a question here. You were talking about using material balance with Python. So do you know about the straight line equation we use in material balance? The material balance equation is converted into straight line equation,
yes, sir.
right? So uh, you have a gas cap reservoir, okay? And you don't know the value of M, initial gas to oil ratio. So how you can use Python and develop a program such that you can estimate the value of M?
So for that, we would be using the that Havlina-Orde method, and
What is that?
in that that is uh, used for withdrawal against the expansion term,
Yeah,
and
right.
for the slope of the curve would give the initial oil in place, and the intercept would can give the product of gas cap, the factor of gas cap and the initial oil in place.
Can you tell me the equation we will use for gas cap
So I think
in
I have
terms
to
of,
write it and recheck it.
yeah.
So I think it is F is equal to N EO plus N in the N multiplied by EO plus MEG, but I have wrongly interpreted it, and the slope of the curve would give the product of N into M, and the intercept would give the the initial line place, that is N.
Okay, now we have we only have to use the curve between F and E naught plus MEG, and
No,
we know the
sir.
value of N. Okay, we
Okay.
know the value of N. Value of N is given. So how we can tell that? How we can calculate the value of M from here?
And we know if we know the value of N, then we can plot it against F against EG.
Yeah.
So
No. We have to plot F against E naught plus MEG.
and we know
Value of N we know.
value of initial oil in place, we know.
Yeah, we know that.
So I think then we won't be using the intercept and directly.
But in
So,
Python, you can use it like you can vary the value of M and the point where your slope matches with your N value, you can take that M. Got that?
so we have to history match that,
Yeah,
like
yeah, exactly.
compare it with the.
Yeah.
Or you can apply loops, Newton-Raphson's, right? Yeah, that's how you think of applications. Okay, any other questions, guys?
Yeah, one last question. Anuj, how
Yeah, sure.
reservoir simulation is different from ML?
So in reservoir simulation, we have to first first create a static model, and then for planning the fluid flow against it. So that is the simulation part of the reservoir. And in ML, we have to
No,
train the model.
I didn't say ML, Anuj. I meant MBEL, material balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So material balance is actually the tank model. So we assume the homogeneous rock and fluid properties. In reservoir simulation, we can compute for the heterogeneous part of the reservoir, and we can divide the reservoir into grids and calculate for each grid the flow of the fluid.
So reservoir simulation will give us better results as compared to MBEL, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Just
Okay,
a just a check on this. Maybe you are missing a point here, Anuj. It's a tank model. The MBEL is a tank model, all right.
Yes, sir.
What is a tank model? What is it lacking that it has such a simple name? Why just
Sir,
tank? Like,
it lacks dimensionality because it is a zero dimension model.
and when we
So
say that, what do we mean? What
uh,
is it lacking? Yeah.
so we are using the average properties for each and every property is averaged out for the material balance. But in reservoir simulation, we could honor the distribution of properties against the reservoir.
which every properties you are talking?
Like pressure also is different at different position in the reservoir, and
Yeah.
permeability is also like in the heterogeneous reservoir, at each and every direction the permeability is different. And saturation also, the saturation is also distributed for the real reservoir. The saturation is also varying against the.
So do we consider Darcy's law in or any flow equation in a material balance?
No, sir.
Do we do that in reservoir simulation?
Yes, sir.
That's the difference. The dimension we are talking about. This is the dimension aspect of it. Yeah. So, Jesh, Divyansh, Anshul.
I'm good.
That's it from my side.
Okay, then. Great. Can we just, Divyansh, we should officially conclude the interview for the post
You
discussion
can
now.
stop the recording.